I think this is Kamal. Please excuse me if that is not the pronunciation. Kamal from Alabama. What is up?
It's pronounced Kamal.
Kamal.
Hi, Kamal.
What is up, my friend?
Dan. Jenna, Dan, what's happening? How y'all doing?
Doing
Pretty
all
good.
right. What did you want to talk about today?
Jenna, am I saying your name right, Jenna?
Mm-hmm.
I am so sorry that I was listening to the beginning of the show, and it's the same thing I went through when I had, came out to my family, and I was telling them, and it was at Thanksgiving dinner, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
It blew my mind. And it wasn't like at the table or anything. It just, me and my brother was talking, and that's how, I never told Eric and V how it happened, how my family turned on me. It was like, it was during dinner, and about this past Thanksgiving dinner, and I didn't even get invited to dinner. My aunt, I was in the Marine Corps, and I did 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan, and I don't have to. I'm sure you guys know what goes on in war. And my aunt called me a demon and a murderer. And that's why I don't believe in God and all these different things. And she didn't talk to me. I tried to explain to her some of the things because I don't normally talk about what I've been through in my tours. I don't normally talk about them. But I'll tell you something. Eric, listening to Eric a few shows back, he convinced me to get a therapist, and he doesn't even know that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
He convinced me. He convinced something he was talking about a while back in a show, and I appreciated it. But
Call him back and tell him that. He'd love to hear that.
Yeah, or send him a message. He definitely would appreciate that.
Yeah, I will. But what I wanted to say first, Jen, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. That people just you were talking, and this person was just talking over you and just ignoring. Pardon my dog. If you can hear him, he's a big boxer and he has a loud voice. But it's sad that you were talking and this person just didn't want to hear what you had to say about nothing. Why could you be? Well, how do you want to have a dialogue if we can't? If you don't listen to me.
Right. Yeah. If we can't start with talking, how are we going to get anywhere?
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And so I wanted to ask, Dan, I don't know your story a lot, and and if this applies to you, you answer me too.
Sure.
Should I continue to try to have a dialogue with my family? Can you cuss on the show?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or should I just say fuck it and
go for it?
I have some thoughts. Yeah, I have some thoughts about this. Unless you do. Yeah. So here's what I say, Kamal. The first thing you have to determine is, does your family want to have a dialogue with you? Because if they don't want to, it doesn't matter what you do. Nothing's going to happen there, right? I think about it like you're starting a relationship with somebody. You know what I mean? If they're not going to accept your advances and they don't want you in your life, you can't force somebody to like you. You can't make that happen. So it's the same thing when we're talking about these kinds of subjects. Some people, this is a closed off area in their life that they don't want to go to, whether it's because they're afraid to, whether it's because they were taught not to, right? I mean, there's all kinds of reasons here, and I don't know your family's background, but my guess would...
I'm sorry. We were raised Christian in my family, where everyone was raised Christian. I was in the early years of my life, I was at a foster home, and I was raised by a lady, and she was straight down home Christian. I mean, I used to come home pretending I was a preacher, for Christ's sake. I kid you not. I used to want to be a preacher. I thought that was my calling.
Yeah,
I really did. And yeah, and you're right. We were raised, and for me to, it just kind of came out like, and my brother kept saying, my brother kept saying that I went through Hurricane Michael, right?
Sorry.
And he kept saying that God. No, I was fine. I wasn't.
Okay, good.
but it was bad down here though. But he kept saying that God is watching out for you. God is watching out for you. And I don't know if y'all know I am in a wheelchair. I was wounded in combat on February 14th of 06. I was wounded in combat, and it left me in a wheelchair. And my brother constantly saying that God got you. God is watching out for you. God is watching you. And I said, man, I don't believe in no gods, man. I don't believe in no gods at all. And he paused and looked at me like, I mean, I never saw that look in his face before. He like, what did you just say? And he thought I was joking, and I was serious. And we started having the conversation, and it just went south real fast. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah. Oh, I have so many thoughts about this, but yeah, Jenna, go for it.
Well, so
go ahead.
So for family, I that's what I'm dealing with right now, and I have I have a very large family. I have like 100 people with just aunts, uncles, and cousins.
Okay.
But I think there's 4 people that I'm on a regular talking to basis with now.
Wow.
It might be more than that, but I mean, it's been almost a year. So so I still don't know about the rest. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take it one person at a time. And just as it comes up and as I have an opportunity to have a conversation with someone, just take that individual person as an individual and not go, oh, well, then, you know, this side of the family and this side of the family, and not, I don't want to group anybody together because each person's going to have their own opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And so that's, you know, with the family. But when it comes to like people on the street, I actually have the most awesome experience with actually just yesterday. There's a bridge near my house where there's some homeless people that with signs and things. And sometimes there's people out there with church flyers promoting some kind of ministry or something. And just yesterday there was a group of people out there and they were promoting something, and I was like, oh, I don't give money to churches. And he's like, oh, we're not a church. And I was like, oh, what are you? He's like, oh, we're a ministry. And I was like,
it's so different. I should have known.
Right. I was like, ministry for what? He's like, oh, we're followers of Jesus. I was like, oh yeah,
of course.
See, I don't believe in all that, but I'm good, thank you. Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay, God bless you. And I was like, I'm good, thanks. And then he just kind of walked away. But he came back, and he walked past me, and he stopped, and he put his head down. And he comes back at me. He's like, I just got to ask, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you don't hear the gospel? Or I was like, nope. And he'd never met somebody that gave him just a calm response like that before. I mean, that was my impression, at least. So I think that that's a pretty effective way to get through to people, because these people aren't expecting it from you.
Right.
They're getting a normal response of people just ignoring them or, whatever. Yeah. But when you're just like, you know what, I'm not going to hate you. I'm not going to yell at you or cuss you out. I'm just going to be like, you know what?
Right.
That's silly.
Well, it's like, hey, man, I've been buying this thing my whole life. How come you're not buying this? It's a rejection of an identity almost when you talk about this. First of all, Kamal, I want to say you're getting a lot of love from the YouTube chat right now, who want to send you lots of love. And also, you should definitely check out the ACA Discord as well. I'm sure there's be lots of people who are willing to talk to you about this after the show as well.
I do, man.
Yeah.
It's some great people. I talk to them frequently. Sometimes I go in. I'm kind of a shy dude. I don't really, I go in and I'll read the comments and, listen. And people always, when I do speak, people always, because when I called Eric and V, I spoke to them on that show. Mm-hmm. I broke down, and it just happened because that was like the first time I talked. A little while back, a couple of days before that, I talked to my brother, and he hung up on me.
Oh.
Yeah, he hung up on me.
I hate that.
And I called him back. I tried to call it. I thought it was a mistake. I thought maybe his battery went dead or something. I was praying that's what it was. Like, really? I was praying.
And if you were praying, then that means something, right? Yeah. Well, come on, let me I'd love to just talk about this a bit more with you, because I want to go back to kind of my thesis here. The first thing, like I said, I would definitely think about whether or not this is a conversation you want to have with your family members, whether or not it's really going to affect your relationship with them. I'm at a point right now where I don't have to talk about it with my family anymore. But I remember when I first was coming out with this was a big deal to me because this was a change for myself. And I wanted other people to know that. So first I would make that value judgment. But next I would just recognize that although Christianity really is just, to us, it's a belief system. But to your family, it's an identity. Okay? And so when you are saying you're not a Christian, you're rejecting their identity of what they want you to be. And in that, you're rejecting the way that you grew up, you're rejecting the values that you were taught, the community you were a part of. Okay, so it's a little bit more complicated than just saying, well, philosophically, I just don't think that there's the Christian God, right? Like there's a lot more socio-political elements going on there, and that's just something that, unfortunately, I mean, it's literally our cross to bear at this point. I don't know why I said literally, but no, it's the struggle that we right now as atheists have to deal with until that gets better. And you know what? It's getting better every day. We've got people. You could talk to us. You could talk to others. But there is something that you're just going to have to accept and learn for yourself that they may not fully recognize and accept your current identity at the moment. And I hope they do, Kamal. But it's something you got to prepare for. You know.
Something Jenna said. You have a big family. That's the funny thing. I have a small family. I'm the oldest. And I used to take care of my sister and my two brothers. My mom worked at 2 diners to take care of us.
Wow.
And I would, when she was leaving in the morning, we was going out to school. I was making sure she was on her way to work. I was making sure my sisters and brothers was where they need to be. And when she was on her way home, when she came home, I had to make sure dinner was cooked and all these different things. And I had to take care of my brothers and sisters. And right now, we have one aunt. I don't have a mother. My mom passed away. My dad passed away. Like, I have a very small family, and I am the oldest. But I don't feel like anymore. And I mean, listen to me. From my nephews and nieces, I used to encourage my sister don't even want me to be around my nieces, my nephews and nieces anymore.
Gosh.
Like she didn't say it to me, but it got back to me that she feels. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm the same dude that taught you, that gave your son the idea. He likes the weather, right?
Yeah.
And I'm from Detroit, and it snows. And one time we saw lightning while it was snowing. And I was explaining to him how that works, and he was so interested in it. Now that he wants to be help me out? I'm having
a meteorologist.
Yeah.
Meteorologist.
That's cool.
Yeah. And this is the thing that, heck, my son is 25. He's a college graduate. He's doing great in his life. And even my daughter, she's on her way to the Air Force. Hey,
wow.
I'm as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the kids that have been in my life, I'm 3 for 3. All my babies do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Wow.
The Marine, even though I couldn't walk, my left leg is really strong, and I kept that firmly planted in their behind because I wanted to do something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you cared about them enough to invest in their lives.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that my sister would not want me in my family, in my baby. I consider them my babies. They not want me in their life.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered confronting her and just asking her in a nice way? Is this true?
She was supposed to come over and she was an hour away from me. Where my cousin lives, he's a pastor. He has his own church and all this stuff. And he's an hour away from me. They didn't come check on me after the hurricane. They didn't do none of that. It was like, wow, like, really? She was supposed to come see me last year during Thanksgiving. Well, she told me she was on a walk, and she was on a walk, and they went walking or something, and she sprained her ankle. That was her excuse for not coming. My brothers came, and I enjoyed their time. It was tense with the third oldest, but the youngest, me and him had it was so great to hug him because I hadn't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
And my son's mom, she thinks that I turned my son into an atheist. I've never talked to we've talked about religion, but my son became an atheist on his own. I never tried to persuade him one way or another.
Sure.
But I always taught him to critically think about each and everything you do, you believe. I've always taught that to my babies, but my heart's broke, y'all.
It's terrible, and I'm actually experiencing something similar. I'm worried about if I were to go to a family event. I have a couple nephews, and it's like they're about seven-ish, that kind of age, and I usually am the one person that goes and plays with them, and I'm like, I don't want to assume that anything would be weird, but I have a feeling that there would be eyes on me if I was to play with them alone,
It's going to be weird, sis.
It's going to be weird. And it's really unfortunate for us that we are put in this position where we're assumed to be vindictive and, conniving and out to get people. But the best thing that I think that we can do is to just represent ourselves as we are and just not be that way and just give them no reason to think that we are.
Right.
What angers me is I'm the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm the same dude.
Just keep doing you. And if people are going to act out and lash out or shy away, let them, because people are going to do that. You're going to lose people.
Yeah. And
my brother even went so far. My brother even went so far as to take me off his friends list on Madden.
Oh.
I've lost several.
Not on Madden. No. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I was like, brother, what are you doing? He took me off Facebook. That's the only social media I use is Facebook, just so my family can know I'm okay, because I am down here in Alabama by myself. But he took me off Madden, on PlayStation, on Xbox. I'm like, brother, what is it?
And if they want to do that, then let them, because I have people who've done that to me, and you know what? I can't do anything about it. So I'll be here if they want to come back and they want to try again. I'll be here.
Yeah, and the way I frame this, Kamal, I think you have a choice. You have a choice to either maybe compromise on your values a little bit to save a relationship with your family, or continue to just be who you are and not apologize for that. Now, I won't judge you either way. I don't think anybody has the right to judge you either way, because let me tell you something. Right. I've heard some stories from some Jehovah's Witnesses and from some Mormons and from some people who have even more extreme beliefs than your family does. And when they spoke out about it, it wasn't good.
Right.
And the consequences of that are just as bad, if not worse, than what we're talking about right now. And what we're talking about right now is pretty bad. That's pretty terrible. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you have I can at least say you're fortunate enough to be an adult and to have your own kids and to have your own family and your kind of own social networks. And I can't even imagine what it's like to explain to your kids about why your family situation is. I cannot relate to that because I don't have kids of my own. But I will say this, it gets, for myself, it's gotten easier over time. I think for most people, it does get somewhat easier. Not for everybody, but as long as you continue to be the person that you are and continue to be the same person. And if they want to desire that relationship with you to have with you, they're going to have it with you. But that's on them. You got to put the ball in their court, dude, because you can't worry about what they think if that's the way they're going to treat you, because it's not healthy and it's not beneficial for you. So
I've noticed some people were like down here in Alabama. Like Alabama is like, this is Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh like that here too.
Oh yeah.
We're not like it's this gas station where everyone meets up and everybody talks about whatever. Everybody talk, and I let it slip out. I said I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
How quiet. I am not kidding y'all. It got quiet in here.
I bet.
It was looking at me like I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone or something. Like they looking at me like I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I thought I put my hand on I'm reaching for the thing because I'm like, what's really going on? No, not really.
You're bold. I could never just come out and say that to a group of people.
I didn't have, because that's, like you said, brother, I am my own man. And I spent 12 years in the Marine Corps.
Oh, you're
right.
well, then you have reason to not be scared. I have reason to be scared.
Yeah.
Right, I understand, sis. And I never could, pardon me, I call everybody, all the sisters, sis.
Oh, you're good.
But I can't help but be who I am, and that's just it's just ingrained in me. I can't help it. And I'm going to be me. And like you said, if I wanted to hear what y'all had to say, but the fact is, like y'all said, I'm going to be me, and I can't I'll never let another man dictate my life or dictate.
Absolutely.
I dictate who the hell I am. Nobody else tell me what I gotta be and what I don't have to be.
Freaking look.
My own boss.
Yeah, for sure.
Once people start understanding that you don't have to believe in I don't have to believe in what you believe in for us to be friends. You can believe, but you know what? It's the whole, well, you're going to go to hell, and I don't want to associate myself with anyone that's going to hell.
For sure.
Get the hell out of here with that trash.
Yeah. Kamal, I could talk about this all day, and hopefully we've given a lot of good advice for you. At least I know I tried to, and hopefully this conversation was helpful. We do have some other people waiting on the line to talk to us, but thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I do hope that you're doing well. And please keep checking in on the Discord and send me a message on through my email and stuff too, man. Like, I want to hear about your situation, what's going on. I love to keep in touch with you, man, because it sounds like what you're going through is tough, and you need some good friends that got your back.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed. I was finna say a blessed. Y'all.
That's okay.
Y'all be cool.
Thank you, Kamal. You too.
He's talking to Kamal.
Oh my goodness.
He's still breaking the habit.
It's the habits, right? Isn't that crazy? In all of our socialization, it's still there. I say stuff like, man, I was praying that this wouldn't happen or something like that. I did that the other day with a coworker, and I was like, oh, what the
Saying bless you after sneezing took me a long time.
Now, I've stopped doing that now, mostly because I just think it's annoying, and I don't think people need to do it. But
I agree. Why did we do it in the first place?
So I read this one time. Apparently, it was like, I want to say it was like the Black Plague or something.
Oh.
And like if people sneeze, people thought you had like the Black Plague, so they say bless you to be like, oh, don't get the Black Plague. Then maybe it was some other illness or something like that. But man, what a deep call, you know?
Yeah.
What a deep call.
But that was important.
Yeah, it is important. I'm really glad that we got to talk to Kamal, and I hope that you guys in the chat are watching this or who are listening to this at home, you keep in touch with him as well.